Coming up, what a week. Rwandan Red Meat for the Tory racists, a law-breaking Prime Minister defended by gutless Tory MPs who have this week lost any shred of dignity or integrity, more COVID deaths than any other country in the world at the same time as the government is telling us we're world-beating on COVID, a suggestion that the irrelevant Boris Johnson is somehow leading the world on Ukraine after his grubby photo op in Kiev. Against this backdrop, and flying almost completely under the radar, is the ongoing catastrophe of Brexit. So many developments to tell you about this week. Stay tuned. If you enjoy the channel, please like, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications of new videos every Saturday. Do you remember the pre-Brexit government promises to replace the annual £1.5 billion EU funding for the English regions? Details of the so-called Shared Prosperity Fund have been announced this week, and it provides £2.6 billion spread over the next 3 years, which is a 43% real terms cut compared to EU funding pre-Brexit. And that's just an average. Some regions, mainly Labour voting, are particularly hard hit by the government's partisan distribution of funds. For example, Dan Jarvis, the South Yorkshire mayor, said his region was owed £900 million to match EU funding up to 2025, but will actually receive about £38 million. So much for the government's flagship levelling up policy, which turns out to be an underfunded pound shop version of the lost EU development funds. Another Brexit win. Meanwhile, the former unelected Brexit minister, the mentally challenged, self-styled hardman tub of lard David Frost, gives himself an A-, but thinks number 10 only deserves a B+ when it comes to delivering on the benefits of Brexit. The man who negotiated Boris Johnson's Brexit deal, who quit the cabinet in December, marked his own delivery of an agreement as worthy of an A-, but he acknowledged the public wanted to see more payoff from Brexit. He told LBC this week, "There is a lot more we could be doing so that some of the benefits can be visible and pay off." Well, Frosty, even one visible benefit would be a start, don't you think? What's that you claim? That Brexit has delivered the vaccine rollout, leading on Ukraine and restoring democracy to the country? But the vaccine rollout was delivered while we were still part of the EU and the European Medicines Agency, and we're not leading on Ukraine? And this country is nowhere near a democracy, with a Prime Minister who is trampling on our unwritten constitution that actually relies on decency and sticking to the rules, while he's shored up by a massive Tory majority in Parliament, which itself is based on only 43.6% of the vote at the last general election. But back to David Frost, Lord Gormless as he's known. He said, "I simply don't understand why the EU will not renegotiate the withdrawal agreement and move on to a more collaborative relationship." Or in short, he said, "I simply don't understand." I think we all realise that, David Frost. Another consequence of Brexit that Frost and his cronies never understood was the impact on the heavily Remain voting overseas territory of Gibraltar. Thousands of tons of rubbish accumulated as post-Brexit paperwork prevented it being shipped out to a sorting facility in nearby Cadiz in Spain. When you only have 2.6 square miles of land area, this is serious. In the 2016 Brexit referendum, Gibraltarians voted 96% to remain in the EU, and was then completely ignored by the trade deal struck between the UK and the EU. The way things are going, Gibraltar itself may yet be another loss brought about by Brexit. This week also saw figures published by the HMRC showing the number of British businesses exporting goods to the European Union plummeted by a third in 2021, with 9,000 British businesses deciding that the cost of professional help and advice on dealing with the extra Brexit red tape involved now in exporting to the continent means it's no longer profitable to do so. Another blow to the British economy that will be yet one more contributor to the cost of living crisis already fueled by Brexit. I also wanted to cover in this video the pretty constant traffic gridlock at Dover, caused partly by the failure of the government's Brexit IT system, partly by the P&O ferry suspension, and, as Richard Ballantyne, the head of the British Ports Association, said, partly down to Brexit scenarios, by which I assume he means the new burden of post-Brexit customs checks that are here to stay. Perishable goods are going to waste right now and costing food producers about £800 per lorry. Rob Mackenzie, head of policy at the Road Haulage Association, said, "It is expensive and damaging for the economy and reputation of the UK. It is time to take decisive action and deal with this long-term problem." While Shane Brennan, chief executive of the Cold Chain Federation, said Britain had developed a post-Brexit perception problem. Businesses that we want to do business with are increasingly seeing us as too much hassle to deal with. And Nick Allen, chief executive of the British Meat Processors Association, said hauliers are reporting that they are struggling to get drivers willing to go to the UK if they're going to get delays getting home again. And with the international shortage of drivers, they are able to be selective about what jobs they take. So it's not only British exporters that can't afford to export to the EU, but it's EU companies who can't export to the UK because of the non-tariff barriers the government promised would not exist post-Brexit. No wonder the government is delaying new controls on imports set to come in July and September this year because of growing alarm over the cost of living crisis. All I seem to get from the mainstream media is this idea that the problem isn't Brexit per se, but that a series of stuff has just gone wrong and can be fixed. That it's some kind of blip. Let me be clear. Bureaucratic difficulties in trading and moving goods between the UK and the single market was the whole point of the Brexit deal negotiated and implemented by this government. In fact, the Brexit deal we have today bears very little relation to any of the promises and descriptions provided by the Leave campaign before and for a while after the referendum. Back in 2016, if the Remain camp could have got the idea across that there would be permanent chaos at our ports and that Kent would be turned into a massive lorry park come public toilet, it would in any case have been brushed off as insignificant in a post-Brexit world with huge trade deals with China, India and the USA. But down to reality. And the reality of our post-Brexit world of a vulnerable Britain standing alone on the world stage. Two of those major economies we're trying to align with are yet to condemn Putin and Russian aggression in Ukraine. Our economic interests are now in stark and direct conflict with our democratic and humanitarian values as a nation. "You lost, get over it," they scream, as an alternative to acknowledging the reality of Brexit. When are they going to stop pretending that Brexit means everyone in Britain, other than the non-doms and offshore investment tax dodgers, actually lost?